Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we've got Jenn Tran, Bachelorette, doing the media rounds. I'm going to share several clips of what she had to say on Off the Vine podcast with Caitlin Bristow, and also on the award-winning 4.0 star podcast, Bachelor Happy Hour. She reveals some tea, which I have right here, which is Devin saying, "How long do people stay together?" Forever, Devin. The only answer is forever. Now, again, lots of clips to get into. I'll first start with this. We had about 450,000 views on the YouTube channel since the end of the episode. And with that comes new people checking out the channel for the first time. I've been accused just in the last year of being on every side of the political spectrum. I've been accused of anti-Semitism, racism, men's rights activists, women's rights activists, you name it, you name it. What we do on the channel is this, and I say we, but it's me. I take ownership over that. I give you my thoughts, my opinions from the critical thinking of watching the show, okay? And with that comes not always picking up the metaphorical pitchfork and joining the angry mob. Why? Because sometimes it's not always one-sided. Now, in this case, it very much seems as though Jenn got dumped, humiliated on TV, and he didn't love her and didn't live up to the promises he made. Absolutely. With all that said, we've only heard her side. I don't think his side is going to deviate far from what she's said. By that I mean, when she says, "How long do people stay together?" that is her summary or her retelling of what he said. And it blows my mind how people will say, "Oh, Dave, your takes are horrible." I just said this in my Patreon, and I'm going to tell you guys this right now. My general philosophy in life is that people are trying the best with the information they have. With that said, I don't think, unless there's some sociopathic or literal psychopathic scenario, I don't think Devin went on the show to do harm. I don't think he's a con man. That's where I still stand. Does that mean he lived up to the contract and expectations of someone who would be the finalist? No. Do I think Dale Moss lived up to it? No. I think both cases they were pressured to be on the altar at the finale. You might say, well, at least Dale Moss lasted a little bit longer. Sure. We can get into the argument about whose relationship can last longer, but the facts of the matter are the show is not built for long-term happiness. It is a dramatic show where 4% of the leads end up together. Done. End of story. No, it doesn't mean we can't root for Jenn. I thought Jenn did a fantastic job. She's going to share here in the clips I'm going to share with you from the Off the Vine podcast where she says, look, I stand by picking Devin because he was consistent with all the decisions he made leading up. My whole opinion is that what works on the show doesn't always work off the show. You know, when it comes down to the chemistry building, when you're in a fantasy world, isn't real life. That's why I think Love is Blind does a better job. Once they pick their partner, they go test it out in a real world scenario. When this was tested out in a real world scenario, it just didn't work. It ended. Boom. Done. Over. Now, does that mean Devin's not at fault? No. That doesn't mean Devin's not at fault. But we make a lot of content and a lot of videos. So if I had just grabbed my pitchfork and said, "Devin bad, goodbye, we'll see you next year." No, we talk about it. We think about things. It's thought-provoking. So 500,000 people have watched. Some people might not like the take. You're entitled to your opinion as well. But just know, I do believe I'm consistent with my belief in my moral fiber that people are trying the best with the information they have. Let's get into it. Here's the first clip from the Off the Vine podcast.
Do I have a choice? And I wanted to be like, yes! I wanted to me, it would have been a really powerful moment for you to be like, this is too hard for me. I've been through enough. I'm going to walk off and plug my ears, but you can sit here and watch this. What was going through your head when they made you watch that?
Now, I will be taking a victory lap because what she's about to say is exactly what I said would have happened.
I mean, I will say this, like, they're very conscientious of like my feelings around that day and how anxious I was. So I was walked through every single part of what was going to happen that day, right? Like, they tried to make me feel as comfortable as possible, but I didn't know how emotional I was going to be. I have never cried in a room of that many people before. I've never cried in a room of one person before, let alone that many people. So like, I didn't know what my emotions were going to do and how that was all going to feel. But I did in that moment want to sit next to him and watch that. When they told me that was going to happen, I said, that is great, because I need him to rewatch those moments that we lived together, because throughout the whole breakup, I feel like he was kind of dismissing the fact that he had led me to believe all these like proclamations of love that he had made for me. I felt like he was dismissing them, and I felt like he was saying like, I just don't feel this way anymore. But I'm like, why would you say things like that if you never meant them in the first place? Like, that to me is something I can't wrap my head around. And I don't even know if he had been watching the show like that closely. So yeah, I wanted him to watch that moment and to realize how badly he had hurt me, because I don't know in what world somebody can get down on a knee and promise your life to somebody and then the next day not actually mean those things.
I hear and agree with everything she's saying. How could you do this and then do that? But my response is, you knew each other for a month when you got engaged. You didn't know the real person. You didn't know how you really felt. So the engagement, the whole premise of the engagement, I find flawed on this show, because it's not the real world. When I made an engagement and a proposal, that was after, a true, tried and true love was built, and I think the longer that you do wait, the more you will know, and the stronger. Now, you maybe don't wait too long. I waited a long time. I couldn't afford a ring, folks. But maybe that was just an excuse I was making. But either way, my faith and loyalty in that relationship was something I honor. And it's like, what do they say? The longer, I used to have a thought where like, the longer it takes to get someone to have sex with you, the longer it takes to break up with them. One night stand, boom, hey, see you next week. You got you. But it's like, if you really work for something and then all of a sudden it's like, you better stick around. This took time for us to build. There was equity. There was all this energy into it. These people go on the show, Devin, whoever it is, they get a free ring. They didn't earn any of it. He didn't earn the proposal. You didn't. None of it has that strong equity of a real relationship. So when we argue about it as if it was a real relationship, it doesn't mean the feelings weren't real. It just means when the initial experiment of being on this perfect environment. And by the way, this is why I want some psychologists out there who know a thing or two about dopamine. Come talk to us, right? Because the dopamine you might feel being in the quote unquote competition might feel like love, but that's just the fight or flight moment. It feels to me as though Devin doesn't know what real love is, and he thought it was something, and then when the show was over, when he got the shiny ball or whatever, when he, and then it was just like, okay, well, I guess that wasn't it. And it's too bad that that's how the experiment played out. It is no different than 95+% of the contestants that go on the show.
So quick, like, let's like wait. And I was like, okay, that's fine too. But it was just like one thing after another. His words that he was saying to me seemed like things that he just wanted to say to please me in the moment and not actually follow through on. Mm-hmm. He was like, I'll fly to you all the time. And like, we don't have to stay within the rules of the happy couple. Like, if we can't see each other, we'll see each other. And there was a time period in which like it was a month after we had gotten engaged and we hadn't seen each other yet because of things that came up. And I was like, okay, well, they're not letting us see each other this weekend. Like, just fly out and see me in Miami. Like, no, like the show hadn't aired yet. Like, nobody knows who you are. Like, we'll stay inside all weekend. And he was like, no, like, I don't want to do that. And he was like, I just booked a trip to Mexico. Like, I'm not buying another flight to Miami. I'm like, it's $200. I can pay you $200. Yeah. So it was just like the effort wasn't there anymore. He didn't want to see me. He didn't want to, like, it's just.
And by the way, I think if this were a real life scenario, she would have learned this on date 2. It is not Jen's fault. I'm going to hit you with this thing. It is, I got a little like one of those wrist saver things. It is not Jen's fault. It's the fault of the experiment, that she would have learned during week 2 that if he wasn't on some production thing, he probably wouldn't have gone out of his way to organize a date. This is what's so funny to me with the show, right? They go on these dates. Oh, this is such a beautiful date. Oh, you got roses for my mom? No, these are the producers handing these dudes these things. So it's not Jen's fault. And by the way, I keep on having to say this because, for the group of people that think that's like, these are like microaggressions I'm slinging. I'm talking about this from the experiment that is The Bachelor, that it's not Jen's fault that that she thought Devin was showing up as a man. He wasn't. He was just part of a show where they dressed everyone up and put him out there. So then in the real world scenario, she sees that he's failing. Like I said, she would have known this week 2 if this relationship started in the real world.
It's weird, and I can't wrap my head around it, and I don't know what happened, and I still don't really understand how someone's...
So now Caitlin Bristow is going to ask, is Devin a scumbag? You know, is he a bad guy or what?
Feelings and emotions and effort can change.
And Jen's got a great answer.
Well, I mean, the terms get so tossed around of the gaslighting and the love bombing and the this and the that, but he really... I mean, feels like a walking definition of those things. Like, do you think he is misunderstood? Do you think he got cut up on the show? Or do you think he's actually just a scumbag?
I don't know. And I think that's the hardest thing is like, I'm done kind of trying to figure out what's going on in his head and like who.
I love it. I'm this, I've been in that situation before where you're trying to overanalyze someone you can't understand. And that's why I believe she probably wanted to have him watch it, because she felt maybe he's like an avoidant type where he's not owning up to the issues, and he's not like, he's just running away. He's aloof. He's not responding to text messages. No, I want you to watch it. I want you to watch it. And at this point she's like, look, I'm done. I've cried it out. I've thought, so I feel for Jenn here for sure.
Our interview, you mentioned, hearing rumors about Devin DMing other girls. Did any girl come forward to you ever? I heard that Ashley I knew someone that he was reaching out to. Like, obviously he followed Maria from Bachelor Nation, which that's also kicking you while you're down. Like, has anyone come forward to you?
A couple, yes. And there are still some things that I just don't know if happened or not. And I'm just, I don't
share the receipts. Who came forward?
Have a card to play, so I'm gonna just wait and see like what actually happened, and if it comes out, it comes out. What I do know is he was DMing like girls, and I saw some of those messages, and I think that's the most hurtful part is like, what was your game plan all along? So
look, I mean, here's the deal, right? I DM girls, I DM guys. What was the sort of content of the DMs? Now, obviously following Maria, that's wrong, right? But if he's like, I mean, I don't know. That's why you want to see it, because you want to like, all right, what's the context here? It doesn't seem like, although, I got to tell you, he was spotted with, I guess, what was his ex, and it was when they were broken up, but maybe trying to work on it. You could call him brazen for doing that. But are the DMs wrong? Again, I'd have to know the content of the DMs, because once you're under the microscope, you can't publicly comment to people. But it's exhausting to even discuss, because you feel like your words are just going to be completely mistaken, really. Somebody asked me, like, Dave, would you interview Devin? And my answer is no, not right now. Why? Because, while I do think he deserves to say his piece, you as an audience don't have to listen. You don't have to, there's no gun to anybody's head to listen to what Devin has to say. But as far as him having a platform, yeah, he should share his side. And people go, well, what could he possibly say? That's the wrong question to ask. It's like, she can do her media rounds, he can do his. I just don't want to deal with the audience. Oh, your platform, I don't want to deal with it. Someone else can take that. You know why? Because I'm just struggling to get 5 hours of sleep a night. I'm trying to be a good dad. I do this. This is my living. I got bills to pay. You know what I mean? Like, do we need to break down the fourth wall here? I don't want to deal with the people that want to throw hate my way, because I'm certainly not trying to throw hate anybody's way here.
He was not taking much ownership or whatever. And have you guys spoken since that night on the live finale?
Okay. I called this. If you watch every one of my videos, when she was being interviewed on Dancing with the Stars, they asked if she'd spoken to him, and she said no. But then she has the worst poker face in the world. God bless Jen Tran's poker face. She looked at her Dancing with the Stars partner like no, and looked over to him. So she clearly lied. But here's where she confesses the truth.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I had reached out to him after and just like wanted to wish him the best, and then I started getting DMs from girls and all this stuff that made me upset, and I just like. I was done. So we haven't talked now. After that.
So she posted the thing saying give him grace, and then she took it down, or it went away after the 24-hour Instagram window. I think she took it down. Either way, it's still good PR for her to be like, I wish him the best. No one send him hate, whatever. She's allowed to feel her emotions and not want the whole world against him. So I think I think Jen, this is what people might not understand. You might think I'm crazy here. I actually think, and she doesn't need to agree with me on this, I think that Jen and I have very similar core beliefs. I really do. I think we both have very similar core beliefs about like giving people grace, knowing, whatever. But with that said, even though I've got core beliefs, I'm still a human. I still have my ego that comes out when I feel scorned or if someone's not living up to a social contract or whatever. So I give her grace knowing, look, she's allowed to get on the bar. I shared it yesterday. She's allowed to get on the bar and yell F Devin. Go for it. And maybe it's cathartic for you to do. I don't think that's going to make Devin feel any worse about whatever he's got going on. So there was a question about why Jonathan didn't work out. I wanted to get to that part. Let's see if we can find the Jonathan conversation about why he didn't work out.
Jonathan home?
There was a lot. There was a lot. It just wasn't there. I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but like he just wasn't sure about doing long distance as well. And I was like, I live in Miami. Like, I'm not going to be moving. And
I'm in Miami, bitch. And here's the deal. These men, you might say, well, why would he go on the show if he didn't want long distance? Because they didn't know Jen would be the Bachelorette. Now, you might say, well, would he have moved to LA? Maybe, but John wasn't going to move to Miami. This is the first we've learned about it. And if they did a better job casting the show for Jen, and that's the problem. The producers, they waited till the last second to cast the show, so they had all of the contestants ready before the lead. That's insanity. That's insanity because they could have cast men that would want to move to Miami. Unbelievable.
He's not going to be moving. So we were both just kind of like, we didn't know, like long distance wise, if his heart wasn't in it and like mine wasn't, then it wasn't going to work,
Yeah.
So that was like a major factor as well that we like had talked about. But other than that, like, no, like we're on such good terms. Like,
all right. So they share their TikTok. So clearly it doesn't look like her and Jonathan are getting back together. Although even though she said she wasn't going to move to LA, a lot of contestants do move to LA. You get pulled there for a lot of opportunities. So maybe if she does move to LA, Jonathan will be there for her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was consistent with me.
So now she's describing Devin and saying why she stands by her decision.
Consistency is a big thing in my life that I haven't really had. So to have someone so consistent all on the show and just like be so open with his love at the time felt so good. And yeah, I mean, I also just, it is what it is. And whatever red flags I didn't see, hey, maybe next time I will.
And by the way, none of us have been in that scenario. Caitlin Bristow has, but none of us plebeians, Russian commoners here. Excuse me, Roman commoners. It's me, a plebeian, a Vladimir. None of us have been in that situation. So to say, oh, we knew Devin was giving the ick or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. Glad you got that from your television set, you idiot. You know what I mean? I think audiences don't give Jen enough grace for what she had to go through. I'm going to reverse Uno in on people. I think she's the one who's like, hey, let up, just because everyone feels like a Monday morning quarterback. Monday morning quarterback, that's the guy after the football game who says, oh, I wouldn't have thrown that interception. Yeah, okay, cool, man. So anyway, here's the illustrious, award-winning, the best Bachelor Happy Hour 4.0 star podcast. They divided the episode up into two parts, part 1 and part 2. Why? Because they can make more money that way, because they don't value their audience. That's why. So the 55 minutes of interview is probably 45 minutes of commercials. I don't blame the hosts. This is just the Bachelor producers squeaking by with that ad revenue.
I don't understand it all. Like, we are where we are right now. But yeah, I mean, essentially, we had gotten engaged in Hawaii and happiest day of my life. And then we had a happy couple right after that. And now when I look back on things, I'm like, there were so many little key moments that I should have just taken note of, and I didn't. Like in Hawaii, when we were having our happy couple, the day after we got engaged, the first thing he asked the producers was like, how long do people stay together?
Oof.
Oh, and I was like, yeah, I was like, you're already anticipating that we're breaking up? But I didn't think.
Now, here's what I would ask. I would ask, Did he say that to producers in front of you? Did the producers tell you that? Was he saying how long do they stay together? Like, I need way more context of this. But yeah, this looks like a guy who was pressured into an engagement.
Think anything of it at the time. But I flagged it as like a really weird question to kind of ask. I was like, why would you ask that?
Yeah. And for those listening who maybe don't know what a happy couple is, just to clarify, it's like time with the happy couple. Like,
all right, so then yeah, good stuff. So anyway, that's where it stands. So did he con her? And if he was conning her, he might be the dumbest man in the world to be committing a con while also asking the producers, how long should I commit this con? We'll have to see if we ever hear from Devin. Let me know what you guys think. I got more content coming your way. Hey, let's all be kind to each other. Why don't we try that? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.